On today's show, we're going to dive into the AI and Creativity Report 2025 by D&AD and Shutterstock. It's one of the most comprehensive snapshots of where creativity stands in the age of AI and where it's headed next. We're talking about economic impact, ethical concerns, talented disruption, and the new roles emerging in the real time. If you're a creative or a lead creative, this one is for you. I'm Daniel.
I'm Mateus.
And this is the Human AI Experience. So, I was reading this report from A&AD, which is one of the biggest award shows in the creativity world. And they partner up with Shutterstock to do this massive report. So they compiled 121 hours of interviews with almost 300 creative leads across 55 different countries. So they did this deep dive into what is the state of the creative economy and how agencies are well or not well equipped to navigate the AI era. And then there's a lot of interesting findings, and I want to dive a little bit deeper into some of those. They also look into there's 7 macro trends or shifts that they want to highlight. So we're going to go into each one of those. So let's just start with the scale of AI adoption and how crazy it is, right? So ChatGPT, at least in February this year, had 400 million weekly users. So that's a lot of people. And I remember we did that episode back then with Ghibli, where people were generating images with the new image generation inside ChatGPT. And I remember reading that by that time, they also doubled they increased in at least in half their with new subscribers. So I think today they might have surpassed the 500 million. They might be around 600 million people. Midjourney, for example, 11 million users. Of course, it's more niche, right? 70% of digital marketeers are now using AI in some shape or form. So it's projected that $15 trillion will be the economic impact by 2030 in the future of the creative industry, right? AI basically is not just being adopted, it's already embedded into a lot of areas like content, marketing, and design. They also mentioned that 91% of creatives in this study have ethical concerns. And I guess we know that really well because we've been talking about this, and in terms of copyright, who owns what, why using AI, who gets the credit, right? So there's a big red flag in there, and we're going to talk a little bit about it later on. And there's also resistance, and resistance is actually rising. So there are a lot of protests through open letters or artists drawing and doing some art projects that are protests, and drawing also hard lines about what AI can and can't do with their work. So there's a lot going on, and that it's not likely to go away anytime soon.
Yeah, it's crazy because the open letters, they are actually, I think they're in a mission that is already lost. They cannot win against the technology. We saw that in the human history since the industrialization. So it's just a repetition of the history. So nothing is gonna change because people wanted to resist. They're not gonna turn it down. So and about the 15 trillion economic impact, do you mean it's gonna increase the production to 15 trillion? Or is it gonna impact the already 15 trillion economy?
As far as I know, I think they're saying that the AI economy in general will bring that that kind of uh, economic impact. So I'm not sure if it's related to jobs. I think it's related to productivity or gains through increasing productivity or doing more using AI than you could do it
Yeah.
by just using humans. I think that's what they meant.
Yeah, those
Uh,
projections are always kind of blurry because you know they need to expect some kind of not only the production that it's increasing the amount of work that you can do with less people, but you need to have a demand for that, you know. So people need to. So I think that there's quite a complicated number, to be honest. Like, it's quite impressive. If you look at that, that's a good picture, but there's a lot that need to happen at the same time. You know?
yeah, I think there's, again, right? Like there's a lot of hype around this. So I think those numbers, a lot of those numbers are inflated and are also projections, right? We don't know the impact and how, let's say if people decide to replace, companies decide to replace a lot of workers with that, maybe we won't have that because the economy will at first suffer because people without a job, they won't have the money to actually buy more things or keep the same pace as investing into bringing that investment back to the economy, and then that's going to have a downfall. So I don't know. I would look that as a grain, with a bit of grain of salt, just because it's yeah, it's a projection. So they're trying to be very
Yeah,
optimistic in terms of what how much money AI can bring. Um, but let's talk about speaking about jobs and this kind of stuff. There's a lot of disruption in roles in this area, and then they talk about. So of course AI is reshaping a lot of roles. So it's not just the tools that are being adopted, right? So we're seeing new jobs like AI literate art directors or prompt engineers as well in agencies. So for example, like agencies, they're expecting that agencies might lose 7.5% of their workforce by AI by 2030, according to the New York Times, right? So it's almost 10% of the entire workforce of agencies like being replaced by AI, which is also crazy. And it's not just
which kind
jobs,
of
right?
agencies?
I think the agencies are advertising agencies, marketing agencies, digital agencies. I think those are the profiles that they addressed. And it's not just
Yeah,
jobs, right? It's the role definition. Like creatives are shifting from makers to curators, and we've been talking a lot about that, right? So
yeah.
you're expected to ask more questions. We're expected to have good taste, or to understand what resonates more with your audience, right? So deep understanding. So highly specialized and skilled people. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, actually, they're being optimistic even with the 7.5% because I don't know what we are seeing, and we talked to some agencies workers like in the last couple of interviews, and they were saying that their productivity are increasing a lot, you know, and people are using for 90% of the jobs like already they can automatize their work, you know. So if that happened, so it might be more than just 7.5, you know. So I feel that they are optimistic in the production line, but they are optimistic in the way that the workforce will balance, you know, it will be balanced on.
So you believe it's going to be a lot more, right? Yeah. I
Yeah, I
see
think
where you
so.
come. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I do think so. So they're trying to be conservative, but I don't think this is feasible. It might be worse than we think.
Yeah, and then I feel that some people they will just like open their own agencies, you know, working by themselves. So we're gonna have a lot of solo companies, you know, that will do the job of 10 people, for example, or maybe more. We don't know. So I feel that that's the reality that we're gonna face.
The report also mentions that there's more demand for teams with mixed technical fluency and emotional intelligence, which is so you need to understand a lot about the technology or have, let's say, AI literacy, and then also have worked with people management, emotional intelligence, like maybe psychological traits. Design uses a lot of psychological behavior, right? When you're designing interfaces, you also need to predict what is the reaction to feedback, where do you place a button in order to get more traction and this kind of stuff. There's a lot of UX behavioral traits there that you need to understand. And in the advertising, you're dealing with customers' emotions and understanding of messages. So that's where emotional intelligence comes into play. So they're looking for profiles that were like before AI were two different people, let's say, and now they expect that one person will have both of these traits, which is a bit rare if you're not trained to do that. And I think we
Yeah.
discussed this, but I think we're seeing a transition from highly specialized skill or people that are highly specialized in one particular thing to more generalists, because AI can do that specialization for you, even though you do need to understand what you're doing, right?
Yeah, and I feel that uh, as much experienced that you are, you use better these tools, the AI tools. So I feel that this is something that the next generation is gonna suffer a little bit to get this experience, in the skills and doing the craft, You know what I mean? So, for example, you as a marketing director, you worked like for 20 years in agencies, doing a lot of the job that you were cutting and people like super detailed people on Photoshop, but now you have an AI that just do that for you, stuff like that. So you have such an eye for details that I feel that maybe the next generation they're gonna lose this kind of small things because they're not raised doing the craft, and specializing in small tasks, in the middle of the process. So I feel that this might impact in the job market definitely, and I don't know how this transition is gonna be done. I think we discussed that with people here in the podcast here. So
The it, yeah, there's also there's some new studies coming up now that we're basically approaching the almost 3 years of well, almost 3 years of AI, and since ChatGPT, at least generative AI, right? Since November 2022, where
yeah,
ChatGPT came out, so it's almost in the end of this year. It's going to be 3 years. Then there's some studies already measuring the impact of how AI impacts on everything that we do, right? And then there are some highlights that AI using AI too much or externalizing a lot of thinking process also are making us a little bit dumber because we're not using our brains to the same extent as we used to. But you can also make a parallel with smartphones, right? We basically outsource memory, part of our memory, so you don't have to remember all phone numbers, for example, because your smartphone has everything there. But at the same time, if you don't have your phone, you don't remember any people's phone numbers anymore.
yeah,
And I mean, there's pros
that's the
and cons
problem.
to that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Like I only wrote emails right now just with topics, So I just do the topics that I wanna talk in the email, and I put it on ChatGPT. So I have a really good, well-written email. Of course, I change stuff until I refine it to a good thing. But this is something that I could put a little bit more effort, doing by myself. So I think I'm getting dumber in this sense. Like, so I totally understand.
Yeah, I think we do need to be careful not to leave ChatGPT or have the AI to do everything for you, right? We need to kind of figure it out what makes sense. Maybe it's more on an editorial mindset, but you can still should write. But let's just move on to the seven big shifts, right? So in the report, there were things that get deep and a little bit uncomfortable, and each one reframes not just how we work, but how we value work. I mean we as creatives, right? Because I put myself in that box. But talking about agencies, like there's a lot of things that they need to be rethinked and different approaches to also workflows and so on. So let's just go into each one of them. There are seven. The first one is called Trust the Machine. So the first shift is all about ownership and attribution. So with AI now embedded early in the creative process, like by creating mood boards or prototypes, people are asking, okay, who gets the credit? And whose work this tool has been trained on, right? So 91% of creatives in this study express ethical concerns in regards to that. There's fear that this isn't just copyright theft, but it's also, there's also the loss of originality in there. There's a sameness to AI work that feels a little bit repetitive.
Yeah, yeah, of course, because it's any AI, they have like a database there. It's kind of the same, so they're probably gonna have the same sources, the same similar results, not the same, but that's what comes human creativity. To be honest, okay, I have the database, I have the basis. So how can I create something new from that? So I feel that the average is gonna be good. So now we need to turn that good in an excellent thing, So in an excellent framework, or so how can we do that? I think the only answer is the human creativity and the experience that we already have, So I think for me that's the next step.
But I think agencies are having to face some reality where clients are asking, what am I paying for, right? Because you're using AI, am I paying for human originality or just by efficient prompting, right? So there's some new things coming out and that they need to kind of justify to the client how they're using AI in their process. And apart from the whole copyright issue, right? So if you generate something that is 80% AI, can you say that if that's for if it's for a client work, can you tell afterwards that that the client owns that? Because there's a lot of the terms the terms of agreements for a lot of these AI tools don't necessarily grant you all the rights, right? They also have some rights, so
Yeah.
it's very muddy. It's a bit confusing still.
Yeah, I do agree, especially in images, isn't it? So Midjourney, they own part of the copyrights and stuff. But at the same time, if you don't know what to ask and how to ask, you don't have the right product, or the right solution for your. So I do believe, even though we have the same tool to use it, you need to be experienced enough, and you need to know what you are doing to get the result that you were expecting. So that's what you're paying. For example, if I am doing a plan for a house, for example, doing a project for a house, I can ask ChatGPT to do like a basic stuff. But only a specialist can analyze it and say, okay, this is good, this is bad. And there's so many different aspects that you need to consider. For example, sunlight, where it's inserted in, and stuff like that, the terrain. So this kind of stuff, they're only, of course, they can be analyzed by an AI, but someone need to look at that and say that okay, they're good, they're going in a good direction, and redirect if something is not doing well now by the AI. So I feel this is something that humans need to do now, not only machines. You know.
Yeah, I think that's the point where the report offers a solution for agencies to be very clear on how they use AI their in their policies and then their creative contracts, right? Defining where is the human skill that actually, or the human creativity, or all the agency expertise in doing this and understanding that industry or client uh, lives on. So that at least that's what they suggest. So shift number two is they are calling the economics of imagination. So there's an issue with the entire pricing model for creative work that is under pressure. So AI, we already noticed this because we've been talking to a lot of people in advertising agencies. Most of them say that now you are expected to do more in less time. So the timelines are already destroyed with AI, right? So at least not destroyed, but like it collapsed and it changed the you have less time to do things now, especially because clients know that you can do things in a lot faster using AI. So there's this perception that you can do more, and then therefore they should ask for shorter deadlines. And then there's a lot of talk about, okay, if it's faster, should it be cheaper? Which is a terrible and dangerous assumption. But so there's a need
I
to
feel
yeah.
yeah, sorry. I feel that this it should be the opposite. You know, if we're doing something faster, you should pay more for that. You know.
Yeah, I think that that's the point, right? So agencies need to then focus on or creatives needs to focus on strategic thinking, not just production. So that is the product, right? And maybe I'm biased, but I do understand about creativity, right? And creativity, to be very innovative, it just takes time. You need to do all, or you need to try to extract all the cliche combinations, all the stuff that has been done until you get to stuff that hasn't been done yet, and that takes time. So if depending on what you're doing, if it's faster, it's not going to be a good product anyway. So even if you speed up that process with AI, so there's still some time that needs to be invested.
And I think it's easier. For example, if you do it faster, it's gonna be the same result as in another agency doing the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, because as I said, like human creativity takes time. So even to refine something that is already standardized, you need time. You know, too. So the human time is still there. You know, or should be considered there.
Yeah, the report suggests that agencies need to start educating their clients that faster isn't always simpler. And just because AI frees you time doesn't mean that then you need to deliver faster, because if it frees you time, it also allows you to go deeper. So you can then unlock better results, but that doesn't mean it's going to get faster. You're going to get faster to those results. So I think there's a new uh, they need to prepare themselves to kind of come up with those arguments to teach clients that what is changing doesn't mean necessarily needs to it means that they are going to get things faster. So there's a different mindset there. Number three is evolving partnerships. So the client agency dynamic is also shifting. Clients now have access to the same tools. So basically they are also creating things and experimenting with their stuff. So they're also coming to the agency saying, show me how you're using AI, because we already are as well. So, and sometimes that relationship starts becoming a bit awkward, because where is the collaboration there if the client comes with some request because they are already using, or they think they have the expertise, right? So it muddies the terms a little bit. So But there's a lot of expectations coming from clients as well. They expect that the agencies will understand AI, or will know how to work with AI. So if you're not using AI yet, you're just already behind. So
It kind of makes sense, like to be transparent. I think as like if you don't say that what you expect and what you are actually using as a tool. For example, if a client is using Mid Journey and then they're doing like concepts or stuff, they might help in the direction that the agency will follow. So this kind of interaction I think is a healthy interaction, but at the same time it can be like some kind of pressure. I know I already have some good results here, so how can you help us with this design? So it can be a bad decision to have these tools available for everyone. So I don't
I'm
know. I
not
think you can talk better about that.
I'm not sure. I think maybe if you're smart on how you use that, I think that's a good thing, because before AI, to in order to express to the agency, the client will have to articulate what they want. They will have to write pieces of text. They will have to get references. Oh, okay, maybe we were looking for, this is our target group. Maybe we're looking also for this kind of photography, and then they will have to find something that is similar to what they wanted. Now they can come with something that it was generated by AI, and then gives the agency, okay, that's exactly what they want. So they can build on top of that. So you can speed up the process, that it and also remove a lot of uncertainty that it will come out of trying to interpret what the client wants. So I think that if you are smart, I think that's a good way to use generative AI that the client brings to the table, right? So I think that there's a way to use that in a smart way. So number 4, it's called citizen impact. So let's talk about the audience. Do people care if AI is if the content is AI made? According to the report, mostly no. They just care about how they feel, not how it's made. And that's very important. So authenticity hasn't changed, right? It's basically, it's more like about intention. So if it connects emotionally, if the ad or the content that you're producing connects emotionally, people don't need to know what platform you used. So, but if, of course, if it's not creative, or if it doesn't have a direction, if it feels a little bit careless or without a soul, let's say, then then it's then it makes sense, right? They will reject it. But I think that was true before AI anyway.
Yeah, and you can see, for example, in TikTok, I think it's more common. Like people is repeating the same script. So someone creates something new and another copies the same. Sometimes with the same lines. They're saying the same thing, but different people are doing the same thing. So it's kind of a standardization before AI. So it's easier now for you to just like have a lot of the same content. And maybe the platforms will change, or maybe what we're gonna see is more the creation of communities, around some creators, and they will have like the whole ecosystem around this creator. So for example, they have a podcast and stuff like that, or even an AI generated content, but it's gonna be original or have something that it's some spices, that only this person has. I don't know if I was clear about it, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's basically originality, right? So how original you are representing that brand as a content creator, or isn't even as a spokesperson from an ad that you, or a brand video that you're doing, right? So creativity and emotional needs to be there, no matter what. Yeah, I think it doesn't matter if it's created with AI or not. It just needs to matter. Let's say.
Yeah, there's a really nice example. Like, there's a guy here in Brazil. Like he created an AI character. It's like a TV TV anchor, like, and then the character is funny, but the timing of the jokes is something that the author has, you know. So he's creating a lot of jokes around this character in this auditorium show, you know, like this kind of a TV show. So the timing is amazing, and you can see that this is only the from the creator. You know, it's not something that the AI can replicate for now. You know, so I feel that this is a good example of how this guy is using AI without losing originality. You know?
So we creators are the puppet master.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
AI is the
Exactly.
puppet. So we're basically controlling it and then giving it the way it behaves and the way it should act. We're basically orchestrating the play, right?
Yeah.
Or
But at the same time, you have a lot of content that is just like totally AI created. So the AI creates the script and then it passes through Midjourney or any other tool that creates like or View3, they create videos, and then it posts automatically on YouTube. So you're gonna have this kind of content. So this is the both hands of the same problem. You know, so
yeah, I think it's there's different use cases, right? So maybe for news, that makes sense because you can generate a lot, or you can just summarize a lot of news stuff, and then you can automate that process. But if it's something that you need to pull a lot more you know, you need to react or need to have more in-depth conversations, then it doesn't work because AI cannot bring that.
yeah.
So number 5, it's about coding. So code meets craft basically. So craft is now about restraint, judgment, awareness, and editorship. So the question isn't can AI do it? Is it should it do it? So I think the best creatives know when to say no to a generated idea and chase something better. So I think it's about the curation that we always talk about. Because AI can generate 100 concepts. Humans know which ones matters most, right? And we will have that creative thinking or the critical thinking to analyze what will that makes more sense, and then it is also in tune with this strategy.
Yeah, I think we kind of discussed the same issues. You know, like humans have timing. Like humor is still something that it's kind of really bad. If you compare the human humor and the AI humor, uh, you can test that. Like ask Alexa to talk a joke. You know, it's terrible actually.
Now you just
And the
activated
same
a lot of Alexas in some people's places now.
No, I need to say, "Hey Alexa, tell me a joke." Now I activate it. So yeah, so you can see that in this kind of AIs, you know, they're not good in doing some kind of stuff, you know. And yeah, as I said, like, they can create 100 concepts, but you can manage to create a pathway that is original, you know.
So you're saying that we're not going to have any AI comedians anytime soon? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, maybe we're gonna have, but probably no, not the same quality, you know. So, and I feel that this kind of jobs, you know, for example, bands or even like artists, I think they're not gonna be switched, you know, like some because if you're seeing a live presentation, it's not gonna. What is the soul, you know? Because I feel that we connect with these artists, like if we're watching a show, for example, a concert, we are connecting with the artist, you know, like we're feeling the artist's soul, you know, at the moment. I don't think a robot can switch that, this magical moment. So,
Yeah, it's the human connection, right? Where
yeah,
that's going to be more and more relevant when everything is AI generated.
yeah,
But
exactly.
let's move on to because we have two covers though. So human capital reimagined. That's the number 6. So AI is reshaping the talent landscape as well. So entire roles are dissolving, let's say, especially for Gen Z creatives. Meanwhile, new hybrid roles are emerging. So prompt engineers, we talked about this, cultural translators, AI literate directors, so people that are understand how to prompt like a video tool or AI video generation tool, or some people that are specialized in specific cultures that can bring some expertise in regards to that culture, what is going to resonate in that message to that culture. But it's just not about titles, right? But it's not about new titles only. It's a cultural reset. So teams need to be retrained. So not just on the tools, but also on how to ask better questions and lead others through that noise. It's just a mindset change. So
Yeah.
senior creatives should become more mentors. Agencies must invest in structured upskilling, so training their creatives and all the staff into to understand a little more about these tools, and also get a better understanding on how you can actually use them in workflows. So the last one is creativity unchained. So in the final shift, this isn't about efficiency anymore. It's about possibility. So the best creatives today are using AI to sketch, explore, and provoke, right? To try to use AI to generate a lot of ideas and make connections. Because if you know what you want and you know what to ask, you can get that information because you're talking to the entire human knowledge in one tool, right? So there's a lot you can extract from that can enhance your creativity. So the new role for creatives, basically what they say is not just makers, but editors of the unexpected, curators of possibility, and choreographers of systems. Very poetic. So, yeah, creativity is moving from execution to discernment. Great creators know when to stop prompting and start deciding. So, how to leverage these tools in the most efficient way, right?
Yeah, yeah. If I feel that for your experience, it makes sense. Like you just create stuff. But if you are entering the market, I think that's the big challenge. To be honest, like so, I feel that it's important, as you said in the previous one, that you have mentors. So someone that will teach these people and still believe that this person can get in a level, to use the tool better. Because I feel that experienced people know how to use the tools better than uh, of course in the use, maybe prompting, the new generation knows better than the old fellas, let's say. But they know how to refine. The more experienced, they know how to refine better the answers that the AI gave us. So I feel that that's this is the balance that needs to be done, in this creativity shift, let's say, or this new era, of.
If you enjoyed the show,
just to
please
finish
consider
up,
leaving a
the
review on
report
Apple
basically
Podcasts.
does
It's free
this whole
and helps
diagnosis,
us a
but it
lot.
also gives some
This way,
recommendations.
it can help us also reach new listeners.
And I would like to read them.
And if you haven't already,
So,
don't forget to
starting with
subscribe
tips
on
for
your favorite
creatives, right?
podcast platform to stay up to
Use
date
AI to
on our
explore,
latest episodes.
but don't let it lead.
If you have any questions for us,
Because human judgment
reach
still
out to
matters
us
a lot.
at hello@humanai.
So make your process transparent,
or connect with us on Instagram.
because clients value the method.
Thanks for listening.
They just
See you next
are
week.
not just looking into how you actually created something. Always push beyond the first idea, because usually the first idea has been done before, and then AI basically spit out a lot of average stuff or things that has been done before. And where you can shine or excel is when you go deeper and when you try to create connections that are not there yet. So just don't learn the tools, train your taste. So understand why this is good, why this is better. Keep space for traditional and practical work, but craft still matters. And the last one for the creatives, focus on emotional impact. So it's just not about the metrics, but it's about the emotion of the connection, because there's still a human on the other side that will consume something, they would be impacted by something. So be emotional. And there you have also a few tips for leaders, right? Creative leaders. So to talk about refining the pricing. So instead of charge for thinking, not hours, because a lot of the revenue models for agencies today is by hourly bill. So you basically charge by hour. And this is not gonna work, especially if you were expected to deliver things faster. That will basically be less hours, but you're more efficient and you're doing better work, let's say. So charging by hours is dead. Build teams that are AI fluent and human smart. I think this is a good one. Invest in retraining and mentorship. Clear guidelines for AI use, attribution, and copyright. And the last one, promote a culture of experimentation. Honesty and care. I think those are essential these days. So that was it for today. Thanks for listening. See you next week.
If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It's free and helps us a lot. This way, it can help us also reach new listeners. Oh, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to stay up to date on our latest episodes. If you have any questions for us, reach out to us at hello@humanaixp.com or connect with us on Instagram. Thanks for listening. See you next week.